Hey, what's happening to you guys? This is the creator of Red Rapture, and in today's video I wanted to try and build a stronger community regarding Red Rapture. And I don't really know how to approach this until I remember that I did an interview with CoreReviewBlogs, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be just retranslating all the questions that I got and re-answering them as a video format to help you guys learn more about me and what I do in regards to Red Rapture. So yeah, let's get into it. So pretty much Red Rapture started as a light novel because initially I assumed that if you want to create manga, you have to follow a certain path. Started out as a light novel, created as a manga, and then obviously hopefully turn it into a manga series. But then I realized, you know what, I can just skip that extra step and just go straight to the manga series because that's actually the initial, goal behind it. So that's kind of like how it ended up being. I've had experience writing stories here and there, so I wanted to kind of put that into practice and create a narrative of my own. It was actually thanks to the pandemic that gave me the chance to finally put down pen to paper and finally see what I was actually capable of, and that is how Red Rapture came to be. Right now, all of my attention is currently on Red Rapture. I don't like to divert my attention to different projects too much. I kind of want to just focus all my attention in one area and see that to its best abilities. So the reason why I like stories like The Avatar, The Legend of Aang and Fullmetal Alchemist is that I like stories that have a strong narrative behind it. Stories with deep philosophical questions and things that explore areas of topics that people aren't usually consistently thinking about, essentially. And I also enjoy stories or narratives that make you wish you were a part of that world. And that's kind of like what drew me towards Avatar and Fullmetal Alchemist and Harry Potter even. Their narrative, their story, and especially their world building was so enticing, you want to be a part of that world. So that's what I want to do with Red Rapture as well. I want to create a strong narrative, a strong world building where readers will not only enjoy the narrative but also feel compelled to be part of that world. So that's kind of the idea behind it. The inspiration behind my main character Negusa is kind of hard to pin down. So I wanted Negusa to be young and naive but still have a strong desire to learn more about the world and explore different avenues. Essentially, Negusa is kind but with reason, and he makes every move with a calculative mindset, essentially. And I wanted people to I wanted them to relate to Negusa's naiveness as a young child and also see him explore areas and be confronted with things that he normally wouldn't have had been confronted with had the events not happened in the story. Negusa, like the other characters in my story, each represent a certain theme that I want to explore. And with Negusa, you'll start to see it more into picture because Negusa, his upbringing is that of a Christian child who grew up in an environment where, a lot of people didn't give room to question his faith, essentially. And so that I want to explore that and see where that goes, essentially, with the story. So the power system in Red Rapture is very simplistic on the surface, but it can get complex the more deeper we dive into it. So when I kind of conjured up the power system in Red Rapture, I took inspiration from the way the Avatar, The Legend of Aang worked, and also at the same time inspiration from Fullmetal Alchemist. And I kind of played around with the elemental stuff because I've always been a fan of elemental stuff, so I wanted to incorporate that into the world of Red Rapture. But at the same time, I also included one elemental factor that kind of separates, Red Rapture from something like The Legend of Aang and gives it its own unique twist to it. So in the world of Red Rapture, when people awaken with what I call the gift, they no longer become human. They now become something that is known as an NCG. And there's a lot of traits that come with an NCG. They'll start seeing symbols and auras around other people. Their physical abilities is just enhanced to a higher degree, and they're able to do things that seem godlike. And that is something that you'll notice that I'll be saying a lot consistently, is that they are like godlike people. Now I don't want to go too much into details of what that means because you'll have to explore the story to understand where this is going, but I feel like that unique trait of Red Rapture is something I feel like a lot of people will enjoy when they pick up my story. Yeah, aside from Negusa, there are going to be other characters that are going to be introduced to the story. Some of them have not yet been introduced and they're kind of a little bit further on in the story, but I can talk about the ones that have been introduced so far. So there is Sobira, there is Edric, Almasi, and Ikenachi. So let me just talk about these ones for now. So Sobari is a young girl in the same similar age as Negusa, who pretty much awakened her power a couple of days before Negusa did. And she's pretty much a very quiet young girl who doesn't really talk much, but one of her choices is that she enjoys getting attention and praises from other people, and you will see that reflected throughout the story as well. Then there's Edric and Almasi. These two individuals come from a different part of the world, and essentially they are known as Magi's. And these individuals' task is to escort young kids who have awakened the gift to a certain location, which I believe has not been revealed yet. Well, I haven't shown it yet, but I have been hinting at it from time to time. We'll learn more about who they are as a people, and you'll start to realize that these aren't your regular rescuees or people who do things because they are good people. You'll get the idea as you read the story. And then there's Ikenachi, which is kind of like the antagonist to Negusa in the story. He's the one that came in with his own purpose, his own mission, and he has a viewpoint of power makes all. Like, he does not care about anything else. If you do not have the power to influence his decision, he does not care about you. And he has done some stuff that has now invoked a certain level of anger and vengeance in Negusa to pursue him. So he's going to be the antagonist for Negusa going forward. Now, there are obviously other characters that I have not introduced yet, but each of them will have their own characteristics and theme that I also want to explore. So I'm really looking forward to pretty much sharing these types of characters with you guys in the near future. The reason why I ultimately decided to create Red Rapture in color is probably because I ended up reading webtoons, and I saw webtoon as this crossbreed between comics and manga for some reason at that time, right? At the time, that's how I saw it, right? And I thought to myself, you know what? I actually do like reading aesthetically manga-looking stuff in color, so that's kind of like what I wanted Red Rapture to be. I wanted it to be in color too, but still keep the manga aesthetic behind it. So like the anime manga looking characters, the vibe that manga usually gives off, but just all in color. It's like, think about picking up a Naruto manga or a Dragon Ball manga and just coloring it. That's kind of like the idea behind Red Rapture. That's just what it is. That's kind of like the inspiration behind it. Right now I'm working on issue 7 of Red Rapture, and the process is taking its time because obviously there are only 2 people on this team right now who are working on this, and so that's the challenge I usually come across, is that it's the time that it takes to produce each of these issues, but I don't want to reduce the quality in order to kind of like speed up the process. And that's like the the struggle between, it's like the balance. I gotta make sure I get it out there in time, but at the same time I don't want to reduce the quality. So but the people who have read the story so far, they've really enjoyed it. Issue 1 to issue 6 as issues are available on Amazon, and also volume 1 and volume 2, which is like volumes that have issues combined, they're also on Amazon right now. So basically, funny enough, volume 3 and issue 7 should be dropping around the same time, so look forward to that. Themes of Red Rapture that I want to explore is that of religion, specifically Christianity. That's kind of like the idea behind it. The concept of power and how one utilizes power to get their own way, and also the concept of good and evil, and these types of themes are the themes that I want to explore throughout Red Rapture. And there's going to be a lot of challenges that Red Rapture will have to address. That's going to be a direct challenge to his worldview, because Negusa grew up in a very kind of like isolated, naive world. And that's why I designed him like this, because I want to take a naive child who doesn't really know the ins and outs of this world, and then just throw the world at him and see how he'll react and how he'll navigate such a world. Because a lot of things have happened, so a lot of things have strengthened his core beliefs, and the world is going to try and see if they can break that core belief of his. That's kind of the idea behind it. But yeah, that's all the questions that I have to answer. Questions that came from, CoreReviewBlog.com, and some questions that I added myself to kind of focus it all around Red Rapture. If you like what you saw and you're very interested in reading Red Rapture, it's available on Amazon right now. And I'll see you guys next time, and hopefully I've built some understanding behind what Red Rapture is all about. Alright, peace.